Hey, Joel Embiid keeps talking. Some people taking exception for what he has to say. How do we feel about it? Well, we'll talk about that next. And we'll finally get to talk about Reggie Jackson. We're going to talk about Reggie Jackson next on Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
For making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Hello, I'm Keith Pompey, and this is my right-hand man, John Mitchell. We are the co-hosts of Locked On 76ers. We got a lot to talk to you about today. The first thing we'll talk about is Joel Embiid. Now, if you guys don't know, Joel Embiid has been in the news a lot lately. Once he had a New York Times article, and that article they talked about things that maybe why the team cannot win a championship. And Joel talked about maybe age. Maybe it could be LeBron James's age, something like that. Dream team, huh?
The current version of the dream.
Yeah, the current version, right? The current version. But I'm not even gonna call them the dream team, bro. Like it was only one dream team.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like then I'm not gonna give it that to him.
Mm-hmm.
So then from there, then Joel said something that he was the GOAT if he wasn't for injuries, right? Now, some of the things that he says is like some people you can look at it and some people could be like, what are you talking about? Where other people be like, the brother is bad. He was injured, right? He was injured.
Yeah.
And then the last couple of days, he, had discussion where he talked about he doesn't have a super team. Like, he's looking at the Boston Celtics. They had one. And if he says he wants 5 for 20, they would lose, which was true in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Then he said some other things and da. So it's kind of like Joel has been in the news for making comments. There's some people who disagree with what he says and hate on him. Oh, he also says he's the most hated player. He doesn't understand why he's hated in the NBA. Mm-hmm. So there are certain people saying, look, this is why, you're not a winner. You're not this, you're not that. And then there's other people saying, look, Joel Embiid is right. He's a fun-loving guy, a guy that everyone likes. They love him when they get to know him. Mm-hmm. He's just a troll.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I think Keith. I saw what he said about being the most hated guy in the NBA, and here's his quote. I'm probably the most hated guy in the league. I don't know why, because I'm just cool. I don't know what's there to hate about me. I feel like a lot of people can relate to my story and what I've been through. I think Joel's been through a lot, man. I think sometimes people, we disregard the fact that he did lose his brother in a tragic death. I know some people say he wasn't very close to him, but I don't know that. I'm not going to determine that. I know that he lost his brother. I know that he's fought through some tragedies. I tell you one thing that I did. I did listen to him it's a great listen. I don't often recommend it, but if you listen to if you listen to the New York Times article, I subscribe, so I can, I listen to it. He goes in. You get a real good in-depth look at his personality. Joel, you can tell, doesn't take this whole, basketball. When you hear it, you come away saying that basketball is what he does for a living, but basketball doesn't define him, But is he hated? Well, I think in Philadelphia, I'm not going to be concerned with the rest of people saying, and you have more experience because you're in these arenas with him now. and you're going from town to town, so you have a better taste for it. But what I do think is that in Philadelphia, when Philadelphia sees a guy as talented as he is, and his talent's off the chart. His talent is off the chart. I've covered Patrick Ewing. I've covered Akeem Olajuwon, who's probably my favorite. I didn't cover Moses. I ain't that old. But as far as guys with just ridiculous ability, he may have the deepest tool chest of any big man. We'll see what Wembanyama turns into, but and the fact that those tools haven't gotten the 76ers, let's go ad nauseum with what we do. Because he hasn't taken his team past second round. Now, part of that is the front office is as much responsible for that as he is, with bad draft choices around him and not building a proper team, putting the proper pieces around him. But Joel's not scared to engage, and Joel engages people on social media, and he has fun with it. So I think people kind of misconstrue, and Philadelphia has a different relationship with its athletes than any other city. I've covered professional sports in every city that has a professional sports team. It's a love-hate, but it's mostly love. And if it appears that you have left it all on the table, they will love you. And sometimes I think because Joel, he did it this year, dragging his leg around like Willis Reed, but Allen, there was never a question whether Allen Iverson was loved, because Allen Iverson was a 6 foot or 5'11" and a half monster, who left everything out on the court, and it was obvious. It was never any of the bad body language, and he left here because the team was again incapable of putting the right players around him. He did one time, but they couldn't put the right players around him to win. So Allen's loved here. Joel. He's a little bit different. He's just a little bit different personality. I don't think he's as hated as he couches it. But if that's the way he feels, that's the way he feels, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with I think it's more outside perception than what it is. Well, not outside perception. It's is a way opposing fans than anything else, right? Now there are certain people in Philadelphia who look at him, and a lot of the traditionalists say they get tired of the antics. They get tired of his style of play. He's the biggest thing in the league. They expect him to be down low and this and that. So they may say some negative things about him. But I feel like when he talks about being hated, like prime example, in Toronto, they can't stand him, right? They just can't stand him.
Wasn't he doing all this?
He did. Yeah, they just can't. They can't stand him. In Atlanta, when they played Atlanta in their playoff series, they were getting on them too. In Boston, they can't stand them, right? Mm-hmm. And in New York, they were treating
natural hate. Boston
exactly. Well, but natural hate. In New York, they were chanting FNB in the Wells Fargo.
That's a classless fan base. So they do that everywhere.
But yeah, so you're making excuses. But here's the deal: he's not supposed to be beloved, and that's the problem with, I think, modern day NBA now, right? Like as a kid growing up, I hated the Boston Celtics. Everyone. I hated Larry Bird,
ML Carr, all
of them, right? Bill Russell was overhyped, even though he was, you can say go. But I'm just saying that's how it was, right?
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where I hated people from Boston. And then once I got on the beat, a couple years in, all of a sudden I start realizing that some of these people are cool. Yeah. Some of them are like my closest friends. I hated Magic Johnson, right? Magic was one of the all-time greats. You know what I mean?
Right.
You hated these people. So to me, it goes back to it, whereas you're not supposed to be beloved. And unfortunately, basketball has changed. Now everybody, like, dudes hang out together. They do this. Back in the day, they didn't. There was a certain people who were above the fray.
Right.
And one was Dr. J. The other one was Michael Jordan. But then there were certain people who disliked them. Like, for instance, Michael Jordan in Detroit, they hated him because it was Michael Jordan, right? But aside from that, it was people like that that were above it, that everybody university loved them because they were that good of a player.
Right.
Outside of that, you hate it. So right now in this era, it would be LeBron, right?
Yeah.
Think about this. As great as a guy that Kobe Bryant was as a player, he was hated in his own hometown
Well, that's because
in
he told him.
Philly,
But just think
right?
about he was hated.
Really,
He told him,
huh?
but remember, he told him, I'm gonna come here, I'm trying to cut your throats out.
Exactly. But that's what you do. That's
And
what
that's
you
what we
say.
love. If he said that playing for Philadelphia, he would have been a beloved homegrown talent that we love. The whole narrative would have changed.
Exactly. So when you say that you're hated and you're saying this and you say that, dude, like you're supposed to be hated. That means you're doing something. That
Right.
means you're that, that means you're this and that. And like, you know what? At the end of the day, he could always go and say, "Hey, let me go check and see how much money I got in the bank." This
Yeah.
and that. Now, the
Yeah.
one thing is he does open himself up for criticism because he does talk a lot. He does
Cool
talk
with
a
that.
lot.
I'm cool. With
And the thing is, what the fan will say is, yeah, you talk a lot, you do a lot of things, but you have yet to get out of the second round.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. But the one question I gotta ask you is, you said you listened to that article. What were your opinions of his comments about LeBron?
I thought they were extraordinarily honest. LeBron, that they're accurate. Who can deny that LeBron is aging? But the one thing I do hesitate, that makes me hesitant about that is like, listen, he's aging, but he's still a fantastic talent, you know. And the expectation, no matter what Joel says, and he can't walk away from it, is that you're supposed to win a gold medal. You know, if you can't win a gold medal with Joel Embiid, with Steph Curry, with Ant-Man, with LeBron, then that's one of the things people don't want to hear coming out of your mouth. Saying that, well, this is not, because you know what, you're that dude now. You're the 30-year-old guy, and I know international basketball is different for big men, but you're the guy who, at some point, I know they have him setting screens and being the rim protector, and his role comes down, and rightly so, in international play when a gold medal is on the line. But I thought that was I don't think that was a shot at LeBron. I think it was extraordinarily honest. If LeBron James was 30 years old, we're looking at a whole different scenario here.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's no way like they should lose, like you said.
No way.
And after he said that, it looks like LeBron bailed them out twice with the Fountain of Youth coming up with them young boy plays.
Yeah.
To win it for him. So It is what it is. We'll see. But yeah, good one.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead, Keith.
No, it was a good one. So good discussion.
Yeah. So listen, we'll talk about we kind of passed over a topic yesterday, the Reggie Jackson conversation. We'll get into that when we get back. But first, we want to talk about Gametime. Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, and it makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. You can get last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals, easy to find and buy MLB tickets, and not just for MLB tickets, but for other events that are in your area. And don't forget, these are the lowest prices guaranteed. Event cancellation protection, job loss protection, etc. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Are you watching Fox Sports on ESPN on your TV all day? Had to turn down the volume with all the shouting? Well, make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single solitary day.
Do it today, people. Definitely do it today. So, yesterday we were talking about other stuff and we got tied up, so we didn't really have time to give this topic justice. But we want to talk about Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson is going to sign with the 76ers. I mean, we kind of pointed that out a couple days ago, and it was funny. We were talking about it, and it was the same day he got waived, and we said once he gets waived, this would be on the lookout for the Sixers to get him, pick him up, and they did. And when you look at Reggie Jackson, right, to me, Reggie Jackson is that one guy who played with a lot of great players, right? Mm-hmm. Like the guys that you know of. He's always been that point guard. Like he started out as, at OKC, he was the backup point guard to Russ, and then Russell Westbrook, and then, all of a sudden, he goes to Detroit, and he becomes a starting point guard, and he's playing with Tobias and Mook Morris, right? And then he goes to the Clippers, and then, he's like, a part-time starter who developed into becoming a starter there. And then he goes to Denver, and in Denver, he helps win a championship. Now, again, he was he was a backup point guard for Denver. He got traded there the year they won the chip. And, so the deal is when you look at Reggie, he played 13 seasons in the NBA. He has averages of 12.6 points, 4.2 assists, right? He's shooting 42.4 from the field, 34.5 from three, 85.4 from the foul line. So when you look at these numbers, you say, well, they're not exactly great numbers. Right. But when you look at them, you also realize that, for a backup guy, a guy who's pretty cool with playing, with elite players and stuff like that, and he's 6'2", and he can play both positions. He can play on and off the ball. I feel like this is like for a minimum salary, this is a pretty good deal. I mean, like when you look at him, do you ask yourself, this is what you got to do right now. So when you look at him and you see Cam Payne, you're going to say to yourself, is he better than Cam Payne? Is this an upgrade than Cam Payne? And I think he is. I mean, don't get me wrong. Cam may have a bigger upside just because he's a younger player. Right. Where you look at Reggie, Reggie's 34 years old, but I feel like his knowledge and his experience, not experience the same, but I just believe that I believe that he's a better fit for the Sixers and better option than Cam Payne is.
Yeah, I think this is a one-season fix for the 76ers. I think if you look at it, okay, if you look at the depth chart, you got Kyle most likely behind Tyrese, and behind Kyle, you have Reggie Jackson. It's interesting, like, you touched on his age. He's 34. Kyle is 38. You got a lot of aged depth, but you got a lot of experience behind Tyrese Maxey. And if I'm not mistaken, Reggie Jackson can give you, he doesn't shoot the ball as well as Cam Payne. But, he's a guy who's played more minutes, is used to playing higher minutes than Cam Payne just in his career in general. So I'm not opposed to, to bringing him on, particularly at guys at this point in free agency are trying to scrape up whatever they can. And it's not a bad pick for him, for the 76ers. My concerns with him are the lack of height. some lack of size. But there are guys, Eric Gordon's got decent size. Kelly Oubre has got nice size. So I don't have a problem with him. And like you said, at a minimum contract, he's a guy who's been the player he was last year, the player he's been for quite some time. Reliable, rotational, a guy who is going to have some good nights for you when you need him during the course of an 82-game season. So I think it's a good pickup.
Yeah, here's the thing with him, though. He played in 87 playoff games, right? Mm-hmm. Now you look at it, the record is 45 and 42. So it's around, hovering around, 50%, right? But when it's kind of like he's averaging 10.7 points and 2.8 assists and 2.9 rebounds in those playoff games. So, the thing is, you're looking at it as somebody could come in and get you buckets off the bench in there, right? As far as shooting, now we talked about his 3-point percent shooting is like 34 career, but in the playoffs it's going up. He's a 38.9% 3-point shooter. He's shooting 46% in the playoffs from the field. He's shooting 89%, and from the foul line. And when you look at what he did, in the finals, he didn't play that much in the finals, right? But at the same time, he helped, Denver get there. He did some things. So I feel like for the 76ers, when we talk about teams thinking long-term, and what I mean by long-term through the season, right? And looking at it like this is a guy who can help us in playoffs. Now, the one thing is when we talk about Campaign, now get it. I know Campaign looked good against the Knicks when he came in off the bench a couple games. But Campaign is a guy who traditionally is known for struggling in the postseason. He may have a couple good games, but over, extended period of time, he struggles. And what we're talking about is my man is average. I'm talking about Reggie. He's averaging 10.7 points in 23 minutes, 23.9 minutes.
That's quality. That's quality. That's quality.
So that's where it is. That's where it is. And what we're talking about, and also we talk about insurance policies. You don't know what Kyle going to give you, right? You just don't know. You don't know. But at the same time, having Reggie, if he's bought in, if he buys in, and having Kyle on that bench, and we're looking at Reggie is kind of like the guard that he's not like a assist machine, so to speak. Yeah. These are guys who are good for Maxi's development.
Absolutely.
So that's what I like. That's what I like.
Yeah. You never have he'll have as your emerging superstar, he will have elite basketball. One thing he will have is great basketball mind to play the position for him to learn from. And that's part of the process of turning the guy into a superstar.
Exactly. Well, when we get right back, we're going to talk about how the excitement around the Sixers this season. It's still early, but it's going to be some excitement around the Sixers. We'll be right back. I told y'all that was quick, right? That was extremely quick. But look, Mitch, so here's the deal. So we all know this now. I'm just going to tell you this. And let's just say, so this is the Sixers are going to be probably, without a doubt, Christmas Day game, right? Yeah. I mean, you have to imagine that they're going to play on Christmas. They played on Christmas last year. That game was a joke, though, because Joel didn't play. Jimmy Butler didn't play. But anyway, they're going to play on there. We don't know who they're going to play. You would assume it could be either Boston, Milwaukee. Who knows? It may even be the Knicks, right? All right. Or it could be a team out west. They could pair them against maybe Denver or maybe the Lakers or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. So they're going to play that game. They're going to have a plethora of national TV games. We all know that,
Yeah.
right? They're going to be crazy. And Nick Nurse has a habit of having training camps away. And from what I'm hearing, they're going away again this year. They're going out of the country. They're doing a lot of things, right? So they're going to be they're going to have training camp away. Now, not only that, they got a preseason game against the Minnesota Timberwolves in Des Moines, Iowa. And they're going to play in Des Moines, Iowa, where Nick Nurse used to be the head coach. Nick Nurse is from Iowa, but he used to be the head coach of the Iowa team in the the G League. He was the G League coach. He won the championship there. He did a lot of things. So this is going to be a homecoming for him. I'm telling you, this season is going to be packed with a lot of fanfare.
Yeah.
People run there. They're looking at it now. Although this is a home game for Minnesota, you have to believe there's going to be a lot of Sixers fans or a lot of Nick Nurse fans in the building. And this is going to be one of those things. Think about it. When Paul George goes back to LA, it's going to probably be crazy. And when they play the Clippers, right? Although, as he said, the Clippers are the B team, but I still expect it to be there, right? It's going to be a crazy season for him, man, if you think about it, with all the hype, expectations, and all that other stuff.
Well, that's good. I mean, I'm looking forward. I mean, as Sixers fans have every reason to be excited about this team. And I mean, for me, the ideal Christmas game would be I would love to see them, play Denver. I would love to see on Christmas Day, the NBA, even though chances are they won't be guarding each other, but the Joker and Embiid, the guys with two your MVP big men going at it. And they're going to be on Front Street. This is part of the deal. No league markets its players and its teams better than the NBA, and you're going to see, like you said, them going to Iowa to play in Nick Nurse's home is even that's going to, like you said, there'll be a large contingent of his family and friends will be at that game. And when the season starts, they're going to stay. Charles Barkley and Shaq and Kenny and Ernie are going to have a great time talking about it because they're going to be out there. This is a team people are going to want to see, And of course, the caveat is, let's show up on national TV healthy,
Yeah, and the team where they're playing at, you get this, it's going to be called the Wells Fargo. It's called the Wells Fargo Arena, where the Sixers play in the Wells Fargo Center, but
not for much longer though.
Huh?
You see, they're losing that name.
Yeah, they're losing that name. Now, get this: the team that he used to coach used to be called the Iowa Energy, but now they are called the Iowa Wolves because of the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're like the G League team, but yeah, that game is going to be on October the 11th, and I'm telling you, it should be a huge fanfare and everything for Nick Nurse. And it's funny because the University of Iowa played the women's team. Caitlin Clark this past season played a game there, and it was a lot of fanfare, a big moment. I feel like this is going to be great because you look at it and you look at the Minnesota Timberwolves and you see what they have, and then you see the Sixers. I'll be honest with you, dude. That would have been a pretty good Christmas Day game just because of Ant-Man and because of the Twin Towers they have.
Yeah.
And see what they could do. You got Maxey, an emerging star. You have PG, you have Embiid going up against those guys. But, the thing about the Timberwolves, as good as they are, I don't know if they're prime time still. Like if the America still wants to see what they do.
I think they will.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I think they're going to be tough again next year.
Yeah, they're going to be tough. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be very good.
Yeah. But would you rather watch them or would you rather watch the Lakers with LeBron?
You
You were
know,
saying,
I'm kind of linking out, man. You know, I know it's Showtime. Well, it's not Showtime. It's yeah, I'm kind of linking out, man. I want to see some of these younger teams that haven't won anything.
yeah,
That don't that here to appear to be ascending as opposed to having leveled off or maybe even declined. You know.
yeah. A lot of the funny part is a lot of people think because of the way Anthony Davis and LeBron was playing in these exhibition games for the Olympics that
Mhm.
this is showing you why the Lakers are going to be an elite team this year. But the only problem is it's kind of like who else you got to help them when they go up against other people. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But but because of LeBron, they always going to be on prime
Always.
time, always, always. So, but look. Before we go, I want to say one thing. I got to talk about what Locked On, the national YouTube channel, right? Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube and is now also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts on Locked On Plus, our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app. So for my man Mitch, Keith, we want to say have a good day. We'll make it a productive day. The start, if some of y'all got a 3-day weekend, make this the start of a great one. And we'll be back tomorrow to talk more hoops. Peace.
Peace.